What's good, LL Nation? Lucky Lucky Podcast. It is Monday evening. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I'm Shaun Davis. We're brought to you by Onora Whsikey, OnoraWhsikey.com. It is a premium American whiskey, OnoraWhsikey.com. And if you're going to drink, by all means, make sure that you do so responsibly. Let's see. We're actually going to talk about the evolution of a program. The evolution of a program. And we're going to talk about Notre Dame. And Bennett Jackson joined us Thursday. Bennett Jackson joined us Thursday. Great interview. You can go back. It's available for podcast. Rockeye Nelson joined us Friday. Yes, both of those podcasts are available right now. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CFB Nation, audio edibles each and every day. Home and Misguided Passion, you already know. We spin it different. Left will be here shortly. I'm going to try and hold off on the conversation as much as I can until he gets here. But we had some interesting things take place this weekend. So another big time recruiting weekend. And just in case you missed it, we can go over the tidbits, right? Of course, the big fish was Carter Nelson. Everything was fantastic. As far as his visit, his family, great relationship. If you guys didn't see, he posted a picture of him walking around Notre Dame Stadium with Jared Parker during the visit. And it was a very poignant, special moment. I always felt like the relationship with Jared Parker, which began with Jared Parker being the tight end coach, and once he was elevated to offensive coordinator, I fully expected that relationship to be able to give Notre Dame the edge. We're talking about Nebraska. We're talking about Notre Dame. We're talking about Georgia at this point. Plenty of intel from this weekend. And we've been saying this, kids like Carter Nelson, small town kids, going to Nebraska right now. Nebraska is not my dad's Nebraska. So what's really keeping you home, right? And then you have programs that have really put out big time tight ends of recent years in Notre Dame and Georgia. And you have to ask yourself, which one fits me best? From a talent standpoint, he was in Georgia with a plethora of the top talented players, shall I say, from the 2024 class the week before this down in Athens. Had to be impressionable to the young man. However, I still go to what fits this young man and what fits his family. And I'll stand on it and continue to say that I feel like Notre Dame and Carter Nelson are an incredible fit. And I happened to retweet his picture last night and say, you know what? He just looks like the next great tight end at Notre Dame. Just fits. He just fits, man. And so that's where I'm standing with his official visit. Notre Dame did an incredible job. They did an incredible job. Oliver Miles. Kid out of Texas, safety, another key position over the next 2 weeks that needs to be solidified for Notre Dame in the 24 class because Jalen McClain just committed to Ohio State about an hour ago via his social media platform, which means he is not coming to visit next weekend. So Oliver Miles, Paul Meeking Jr., and some of the other safeties that have come in. Ziegler's coming in next weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see how the safety position plays out. Elijah Rushing. Now, this is where things get tricky, right? Elijah Rushing out of Arizona, big time defensive end. Love that kid. Love his tape. He reminds me of Simeon Rice. This kid is a paradox. He come in and originally he had a relationship with Notre Dame, and then all of a sudden the relationship shot soured a little bit. And as time went on, we started to approach the blue and gold game, and you pretty much heard from a lot of people connected to his recruitment that Notre Dame was out of it. Then all of a sudden, Notre Dame gets back into it somehow, some way, right? Tip of the cap to Coach Washington, Coach Al Washington. The excitement of getting him on campus and saying, yo, another big time defensive lineman, it would be great to get him in the class. And then Brian Driscoll over at Irish Breakdown message board this morning with his intel pointed out that the visit didn't go so great. Now, one might beg the question, how in the world can a visit not go good? Well, the visit is really up to the individual kid. The individual kid has to open himself to whatever's being presented. He has to open himself to the relationships. Maybe Elijah Rushing, because this was a very much intertwined weekend at Notre Dame. The former players were on campus or around campus. We're going to get to some of the other things that were taking place for the current players during this weekend. You had the freshman class checking in. You had other visitors, and you had commits of the 24 class all on campus at the same time. So it was a really big weekend. And maybe, just maybe, Elijah Rushing is not that type of kid. Maybe he prefers to be in a much quieter setting, a more personal setting between him and the Notre Dame coaches. The reports are that he really didn't blend too well with the other recruits, a little bit to himself. That doesn't necessarily mean that he had a bad time. That could just be him. Look, I love movies. I would go to the movie theater every day if I could to watch a film. But I don't like watching movies in crowded theaters. That's why I prefer going to the movies during the day. And I don't prefer going to the movies on opening night, especially if it's a big time movie. So maybe he just wanted to enjoy himself and preferred that it not be as big as a weekend as it was, right? Because there are other reports where the young man talks about the visit and talks about the relationship with Al Washington and relationship with Marcus Freeman and how much he enjoyed everything. And, that could be just him, being nice on the way out. Could be. But we're going to sit back and watch. We'll sit back and watch. We'll sit back and see where he goes on his next visit and see how those things play out. But I would rather say that I'll tip my cap to Al Washington for Notre Dame even being in this at this point. At this point, he strikes me as a young man that wants to stay on the West Coast. That's what he strikes me as. He strikes me as a young man that would prefer to stay on the West Coast. And if Notre Dame does the job and pulls him away from the West Coast, you tip your cap, man, and say, man, darn good job. Darn good job. But I think that's where we sit right there with Elijah Rushing out of Arizona. Bradley Shaw, Hoover, Alabama. You guys remember Hoover high school had the MTV show, reality TV show. He's from that high school out in Hoover, Alabama. He came with his entire family. By the way, his little sister was so cute getting off the bus. She didn't have a clue where she was. She was right up under him. It was one of the cutest things from watching the video of all the visitors getting off the bus. His whole conversation, this is good to hear. His whole conversation about the visit was about Al Golden and Marcus Freeman being the biggest takeaways. He also connected with the commits on campus. As I said before, I talked to Cam Williams during the weekend, and Cam was talking about how different it was. This is something, Cam has been up there since he committed. Cam has probably been to campus close to 10 times, maybe even more. And Cam is pretty much like, yo, yeah, this is different. It's kind of dope, right? 23 kids signing in, getting their assignments, going to their lockers in the locker room, being excited about the jerseys being in the lockers and the nameplates being above where their place is going to be in the locker room. It's pretty dope. You got the commits in our class coming through. And then you got the guys that are visiting coming through. And then on top of that, it was just a great weekend. As I said before, we're going to get to the player development side and talk about what happened that weekend. But he said, man, this was one of the best weekends that I've had. One of the best weekends he's had. And this is someone that's been there for the Clemson game, been there for other big time weekends, been there with CJ Carr. And this past weekend was electric. It was just electric. It's like, man, just 3 different entities of the brotherhood, current players, incoming players, commits intertwined with official visits. And it turned out to be a fantastic weekend. So, where we get the mixed signals from Elijah Rushing, I don't know. I believe it's Steve Wilfong, a 247, that really, interviewed, talked to the young man and gave a report that everything went well. So, we'll see how things go in the future. But Bradley Shaw had a fantastic visit. I was on with Brian Driscoll a little bit earlier, and we were talking about Bradley Shaw, whether or not he's going to have to hit the weights. Not to refine himself or refine his body, but to put on about 15 to 20 pounds. And whether or not he has those capabilities. He's a smaller player, plays inside, plays outside. I mean, he's just a really versatile linebacker. So instinctive if you watch his film. It's absolutely amazing. An amazing kid on the football field. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let's do that. Let's watch a little film of Bradley Shaw right here on the Lefty podcast. Hoover, Alabama, linebacker, 24 class. I love what I see from this kid. Like I said, he can play inside. He's very instinctive, but he's a little smallish. You look at him right there, he's a little thin, a little smallish. So he's going to have to put on 20 pounds, maybe 20, 25 pounds if he's going to play inside. But look at that. I love how instinctive he is as a linebacker. When was the last time you saw multiple tackles for loss on back-to-back plays in the run game from a Notre Dame linebacker? Once again, outside. Has the speed to get over the top. And then once again, backside. Staying home, not over pursuing. Great tackle. Taking on the blockers. Staying with it brings them down. This kid is so good, man. And you can tell he's used to running the defense as you watch the film. He's used to making the checks, checking on everybody, back at the pass coverage. Don't blow him up. Don't you blow him up. Oh, he was nice to him. Okay, go get the big guy. That's right. I like that. Don't pick on the small guy. Turn around and go get the big guy. I love that. I love that. Make a play, get to the end zone. I'm telling you, man, this kid has the athletic ability to be a big time player and linebacker for Notre Dame. I think he could play rover. I think he could, but most people project him to go inside or even at the wheel. But his instinct, oh man, he's so instinctual at the position, man. Oh, he's so instinctive. Look at this. Quarterback wanted no parts. He just went down. That's one of my favorite plays. Quarterback wanted no parts. He just went down. And the question was asked earlier because KVA comes in this weekend. This weekend, Kingston visits Notre Dame after going to USC. USC did what they had to do. Of course, Troy Polamalu had to be on campus. Um, that's just that, man. USC did what they had to do. But I feel really good that it's down to Ohio State, Notre Dame for Kingston. I really do. I really think he's going to leave California. And, if you get Kingston, but you don't get Bradley Shaw, if you get Bradley Shaw and add some other kids and you don't get Kingston, I would feel good with either package. But I do say this. When you're talking about 24 kids going into the fall, that you're still going to top kids, right? Caleb Beasley, possibly Justin Scott stretching things out to the fall. Or even if he commits, still having to recruit him and have him coming in for an official visit for the Clemson game, as rumors have been out there. You have to get other big time players in the class. Big time players want to play with other big time players. This is why Alabama and Georgia are just racking up right now, right? You look at Georgia's weekend list every weekend, and it is nothing but 5-star, 4-star, 5-star, 4-star. They just flipped a running back, 4-star running back from Florida. I want to say this weekend, it is way too many opportunities out there for great players to come to Notre Dame and play with great players. But they have to be shown. They have to be shown. And Notre Dame does not have the multitude of opportunities to have those big time players because they're not going to have their hands on as many 5 and 4-star kids as Alabama and Georgia can. And we know the obvious reasons, right? Academics, admissions, things of that nature, having to find the right fit at Notre Dame. We understand that. We fully understand that. But one of the biggest things that comes into play, one of the biggest things that comes into play is that Notre Dame is going through a phase where Marcus Freeman and this program, they're really trying to evolve into the future. And I said this last week, and it's real, right? I said Jack Swarbrick is really getting out of town not only because he has aspirations for other things. I believe him wholeheartedly in the interview that he gave when he decided to step down. I believe wholeheartedly that Jack Swarbrick does have aspirations for other positions, possibly running an NFL team like his good friend Kevin Warren. But Jack Swarbrick got out of town before he was forced to make certain decisions that I don't think Jack Swarbrick is comfortable with. Jack Swarbrick is a hardliner. Jack Swarbrick is a guy that believes totally, in the term student athlete, with student coming first. I don't think Jack Swarbrick was comfortable at all with the NIL landscape. I don't think he was comfortable with the direction of the NIL landscape. And his hand might have been forced to do certain things that he didn't want to do. And I reference this. I remember when Roy Williams decided to step away, and he stepped away from North Carolina. He might have been 2 years removed, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years removed from winning a national championship in North Carolina, 2 or 3. But the direction of everything with the one and dones and the G League coming to fruition and becoming more of an option for high school kids, he woke up and realized it was a brand new day. This wasn't the same landscape in which he had done business for the previous 30, 40 years. And he decided, I'm not equipped to do this. And instead of sticking around and becoming a hindrance to North Carolina and the program, I choose to walk away right now, allow someone else that can come in and guide the program into the future to be able to do so. Jack Swarbrick, in my opinion, had no desire to be the one that opened the door to NIL in its full capacity at Notre Dame. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if Father Jenkins wants to be the one by which that happens. But, the AAU certification has come about. Some people ask if that was a prerequisite to entry into a conference, possibly. Big Ten, maybe. Some other things are coming down the pipe with the TV deal and the apparel deal. In my opinion, the TV deal is pretty much, yeah. We were hearing rumblings about 60 to 75 million over a year ago for the TV deal. So the number is the number. The number for the TV deal is already set for Notre Dame. They're going to get their money as far as the TV deal. But ultimately, the evolution of this program and where it's going under Marcus Freeman is going to be up to Pete Vavakwa. It's going to be up to Pete Vavakwa. And maybe Pete, a former Notre Dame player who has great relationships with the former players, still connected to them, an sports exec at NBC, understands the modern landscape of college football, media, and business. And in doing so, has more of a capability of taking Notre Dame into the future that could possibly make it more viable for Notre Dame to compete in the NIL landscape. They already compete on the academic landscape, right? And we're just looking for them to take a step forward and compete even better on the football field, ultimately ending with a national championship. That's what we all want. That's what we all want. So it's going to be very interesting watching how the Notre Dame program evolves over the next 5 years. It's going to be very interesting. It's amazing to see this weekend was a weekend full of former Notre Dame commits committing elsewhere. Owen Wafel, he committed to Michigan. And then we had Brandon Davis Swain committing to Colorado this weekend. Imagine if we still had those two youngsters in the class 2024. I don't even know if Notre Dame would be going after Elijah Rushing if they still had Brandon Davis Swain in the class. I will say this. Notre Dame, I want to make sure I say this, and I want to make sure I'm being respectful. Notre Dame has kids that begin or introduce the NIL conversation, or their families that introduce the NIL conversation, and might be a little bit more inquisitive. I was about to say aggressive, but I don't think aggressive is the right word. A little bit more inquisitive about how things are going to be done. See, if you're like me, my wife laughs at me all the time. If you're like me, I go to the doctor can say, Shaun, take this, put it on your leg, wrap it, do this and do that, and you'll be fine. I really don't ask too many questions. I don't. Like, okay, doc, I'm going to take these meds for the pain, wrap my leg, put the ointment on it. You said I should be fine. Then there are some that the doctor says something and they have a question for the doctor. Well, you need to do this. Okay, why am I doing that, doc? Right? That would be my wife. She has a question about everything. She wants clarity. She is bent on getting clarity and knowing exactly why she's being told or requested to do these things. And I think some people, and that some young men and their families have kind of approached Notre Dame, and when Notre Dame has given their take on NIL and how they handle things, some people have asked for more in-depth conversations. And when it gets to that point, I don't know if it's Notre Dame as a whole, because of where they are, that feels uncomfortable, or gets the sense like the player and their family are overstepping their boundaries when they're really not, right? Because it's your right to ask as many questions as you want to. And it's up to Notre Dame to decide what's comfortable for them and whether or not they want to continue down this road, or whether or not they want to break away and say, you know what, that's all right. We can go ahead and end this recruitment. And it seems like a couple of times in the case of Notre Dame, we've had that situation come up. And I don't know what it is exactly that ends up being the breaking point in the conversation for Notre Dame. Maybe, Notre Dame gives their spiel and people actually come back with a counter. Or people come back with what other schools or programs are saying, or what evaluation another program has given this young man, and they're trying to figure out, where that fits. Maybe that's offensive to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's decommit before you visit rule is a little ancient, in my opinion. And that needs to evolve as well. Because if they didn't have that rule, Caleb Beasley would have been on campus this summer, in my opinion. He would have visited Notre Dame a couple of times. So Notre Dame is very clear. Notre Dame is very clear. I think January 31st. What does that mean? It's the original date that Justice Scott was supposed to commit. Notre Dame's commitment rule is one of the reasons why Justice Scott kind of backed off and said, okay. He never committed, so he didn't have to decommit. But he said, I'm not going to commit because I want to take visits. And even though I feel like right now that I want to commit to Notre Dame, the rule is that if I commit, in order for me to take official visits, I would have to decommit. And so you get the question or you get the situation where Justice Scott doesn't make the decision to commit to Notre Dame on January 31st. And now he's visiting other programs in the month of June here in 2023. So it is what it is, man. That's the way Notre Dame wants to deal with business. Hopefully things will change. Hopefully things will evolve. But we'll see. But all in all, it's a really, really good weekend of recruiting, evolution, and fun with the current roster, the incoming freshmen, official visitors, and also commits that were in South Bend this past weekend. Lucky Lefty Podcast, giving you audio edibles each and every day. YouTube, that thumbs up, smash it for us, helps us with the views. Subscribe. Then go to CFB Nation on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Lock us in. Leave comments. Give us 5 stars. We greatly appreciate it. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. You already know. We spin it different. When we come back, we're going to have what spawned the evolution or things changing this weekend at Notre Dame. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. The Onora boys are always in the building. We'll be right back. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Talking evolution of a program, Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman last week in an interview said, look, money is not an issue. We are evaluating what needs to be done. And if we find something that is going to make our program better and needs to be done, we're going to do it. That made my heart feel really good for the head coach of Notre Dame to say that. Because he definitely knows there are certain things that need to be done for Notre Dame to close the gap on the football field in recruiting and in other areas when it comes to relevance amongst the young football players all across this nation. And when you think about that, one of the things I love about Marcus Freeman that differentiates himself from Brian Kelly, all of his success winning as head coach at Notre Dame, is that Brian Kelly really did that without believing in the program. Brian Kelly spent the majority of his tenure complaining and telling people what they didn't have and how much talent they didn't have and how many playmakers they didn't have and why they couldn't get this quarterback. The whole time when big recruits on campus, he's out on a golf course. So go figure, right? Marcus Freeman believes in the product. Now, whether or not the product is good enough at this point to win a national championship, he believes in it, right? It's like being around a man that feels like he's with the most beautiful woman in the world. And to everyone else, she might be a 5. But to that man, she is a dime. That's his world. There's nothing else that can be said. You can't change anything about the way he feels. That's period. So when you talk about that, a lot of things come into play for Notre Dame. How do we evolve? One of the hires they made, which at the time I thought was an extremely smart hire, was former Notre Dame running back Amir Carlisle, who became the director of player development. I know a lot of people say, yo, what does that title mean? What does the director of player development, what do they do? Well, Notre Dame released a little snippet of what Amir Carlisle's job is and what his job is to create surrounding the Notre Dame program. And this is what he was able to do for Notre Dame in conjunction with the recruiting weekend. This is what he provided for that team this weekend.
It's going to be the kickoff of the program. This is not just 1 week. This is a commitment to your future. Tomorrow, we got the Pivot Podcast coming in. We're talking about the realities of the NFL.
We are here because we can no longer do. Talk a little bit about being prepared for the transition out of football.
When people say it's about who you know, I firmly believe it's about who knows you.
Learn how to communicate and talk to people. Like I said, I have no degrees, I own businesses. My network's higher now than when I retired. I've made money, a lot of people say that, I've made money after football money. Talking to people.
Listening to that wisdom, I feel like that we can actually do better by hearing what we need to do to be great.
We got NBC, one of our official partners. How do we tell our personal story? As an entrepreneur, you guys are all your own business. How do you lean into that?
Your brand is really starting now. The things that you're putting on social, the things you're putting on tape, all of those brand elements start now.
My goal is to give back because I have little brothers and I see how important I am to them. And I want to just be important to the rest of the community. And by using y'all, using NBC, I feel as though I could show my story.
We got AWM Capital coming in here, and we're talking about how do we bring this together? How do we save money on taxes? How do we maximize our dollars? How do we approach our brand like a business? How do we create young moguls out of all of you guys?
We're not just trying to chase piles of money. We're actually trying to accumulate money to do something with it. Money's just a tool to pay for the things that are important and impact the people and the causes you care the most about. So that's the orientation of why we even care about money.
All right, that's the aim here, that's the goal, that's CTG, that's close the gap. And let me tell you what close the gap means. Our tagline is you can better your best. Here is your best, here is your better. We're trying to close that gap every day in everything that we do. All right, close the gap.
It's a privilege to be here at the University of Notre Dame and to be able to meet with student athletes. For all of us, we're former collegiate and professional athletes, and this is something that we didn't have.
Look at us as more than just a network, but also a place for resources as they look to build their brand, tell stories, and to connect with their audience.
Notre Dame is special, and we look forward to what Coach Freeman does for this organization. Amir, thank you for bringing out the Pivot Podcast.
I'm sorry about that. So once again, Amir Carlisle, director of player personnel. I was privileged to have an opportunity to sit and chop it up with him over the Blue and Gold weekend. And he told us a little bit about some of the things he was trying to do. And to see those things come to fruition, it was absolutely amazing to see it come to fruition, some of the things that he hinted at over that weekend. I think he's doing an incredible job to get the Pivot podcast to come on, talk about that, and to be able to communicate AW Capital. And then, of course, the relationship with NBC looks real nice, doesn't it, fellas? Ladies and gentlemen, that relationship with NBC looks real good, doesn't it? I'm just telling you, it looks real good. What's good with it?
That's right.
You know, I just played the video of, what Amir did for the program this past week, Director of Player Personnel, and bringing in the Pivot Podcast, AW Capital, and bringing in NBC. We saw Christian Gray, the young freshman, talking about how it impacted him. Don Schuler and Jason Onyé standing up, talking to the NBC execs. Just a lot of things that were positive about what Amir did. And it is the exposure. You know what? Because some kids, and you tell me, Left, it's one thing to be recruited in here. This is the reason why you need to come to Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little different. I mean,
but then to experience it while you're there, and to not have to wait until afterwards to experience the networking and everything. These are kids and freshmen before they even took a snap at Notre Dame that are rubbing shoulders with NBC execs, chopping it up, hearing it from the Pivot, hearing it from, big time investors, angel investors, portfolio managers.
It's always good to hear it for the first time being that young. It's like, it's like me telling you how to make $1 million as a 12-year-old. You're not going to be like internalize it and be like, okay, I'm gonna start tomorrow. But it's like getting wet behind the ears and being like, oh, this is what money look like. Oh, okay. They call you Mr. Bill O'Callahan or whatever the case is. So it's good to have those brief early on connections. Obviously, you don't know how to cash in on these networking opportunities right away, but you gotta work on building relationships as you're in that position at Notre Dame, because that's where you work on things like following up.
Yeah.
It don't have to be you jump straight into the industry and be the brainiac or the be end all be all answer to whatever they're doing as a company.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're coming to speak to you or coming to these events, it is awesome practice, especially something that you can savor for now. You talk about planting those seeds. You want to plant those seeds, follow up. You may not want to work for target management in the next 4 years from now, but you know where that person transitions to at their next position, because usually it's bigger. And now you're in a situation where it's like, I'll reach back out to what I thought was a target dude. Now he's the CEO of something that I want to be a part of, or whatever the case may be. So following up, because you don't know where they may lead, because you're going to get bombarded with meeting new people all the time in Notre Dame, especially as a football player, from students. You don't know if your dorm mate, the dude you sleeping in the same co-room with, could be a cajillionaire. You don't know that. And you may not even know how to take advantage of that in the moment. You don't know. You just like, man, this is fresh. This is new. I just know a lot of money's around me. But with all that, just work on your connections, being a good guy. A lot of times when you don't get too many places where you have that many people that are just good people too. Usually you finding it's like 1 every 60 people may be of the same stature of a Notre Dame person. 1 in every 3 at Notre Dame. So you don't know who you're talking to. And that's where you get the great equalizer of everybody does something great here. So playing football and being a football player, yeah, it's cool, but it's just cool. It ain't like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't like you're the next Heisman, the guy walking on #1 pick. Nobody, they care, but they ain't like, well, you got to get behind me. I'm about to be the CEO of your next whatever. So it's a very good respect that you gain, and you understand when people start doing extravagant things. You get that respect. It's like, okay, it's like your parents. Your parents don't give you money for good grades, but they do give you money when you do something new, like start a business. Because everybody gives good grades. You go to Notre Dame, being on the honor roll, that's not impressive.
Yo, say that again. Say that again. That's actually funny,
The
right?
dean's list, they like, oh, that's the whole class in the dean's list.
Right.
Who cares? You know, you're gonna have to up your game a little bit. You're gonna have to put a little extra on top.
You remember you used to have the award ceremony at the end of the year
We don't
in elementary school. You used to get that certificate for perfect attendance.
Yeah, everybody got perfect attendance at school.
Yo, look, true story. My best friend, my best childhood friend, man, this dude is still a stickler for perfect attendance to the point that when him and his family, he has 2 kids, him and his family, they will get ready to leave for the Thanksgiving holiday or the Christmas holiday. And most of the time, you know, you're like, oh, kids got a half a day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, we can leave the day before. They don't have to go to school. This dude stays behind to make sure his son has perfect attendance, bro. To this day, he is a stickler. And I laugh at this dude like, man, what are you doing? He's like, man, he's going to have perfect attendance. And I'm like, there will be no interview in his future where someone's going to ask him, did you ever miss a day of school?
That's just something you can tell at the bar and impress some people because they're like, you really did that? I never went to school. You know, you just get those conversations.
What part of the interview is the interviewee going to say, or the interviewer going to say, tell me something that you accomplished?
See, that's something to bring up, but it's more of like a fun fact. It ain't nothing I'm gonna put on a resume.
I had perfect attendance all the way through high school. Come on.
Oh, you're a nerd. I don't need all that. And you know, it's crazy because Notre Dame is one of those few places where, you know, you get the standard, you hear those base things of what you can do to separate yourself. Oh, show up on time. Oh, do all the things that somebody else doesn't do. Oh, have a good habit. People, you know, they give those general topics of separating yourself, but at Notre Dame, it's just different because it's like all those kids that listen to all that advice all in one place. So it's bigger than just being 5 minutes early to class and sitting in the front.
Uh-huh.
It's bigger than that. You got to compete to sit in the front.
You show up to class thinking, yeah, I got a seat in the front. You're like, oh, snap.
You're going to be in row 3 or 4 because they already beat you there. So it's bigger than getting up before the early worm gets to, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than staying up a couple extra hours. Bigger than that. That's the regular routine. So finding your way to separate yourself is very niche at Notre Dame. You can't take what you learn over there in your good little private high school and bring, because everybody brought that. That's the regular tool bag. They said, oh, you got a hammer too? I got a hammer. You gotta come on where, and that's where creativity has to, you know, be there for you. But when you do see those separations of kids that are at Notre Dame where you're just a little different, like you cool, it's just something a little different about you. That's where we are in recruiting. That's where I'm bringing it all to. We're in that tier where everybody's doing you can come visit anytime and we ready for you. Everybody's doing that. Everybody's bringing out the cool photo shoots where you got all these fancy lights and backgrounds and your mom and your sister can dress in the gear. Everybody's doing that now. Most top programs, they dropping off a little duffel shuffle bag at the hotel for you ride home. Now you got an extra carry-on. You got to find somewhere to do with it. And you damn near got to make sure it's under 10,000 because you can't get through TSA. You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff.
Right, without declaring. Right.
Without getting frisked at the gate.
Right.
So Notre Dame has to find a way to be that 1% when you're in a arena with a bunch of people that are in the 1%. Alabama's a 1%. Georgia's a 1%. Clemson's a 1%. Ohio State's a 1%. So if we can find our way to separate ourselves in recruiting from the schools that are the masters at it right now, Texas A&M will be considered a top elite recruiting school because they always in somebody's top 5. They may not always get picked, but they're gonna be in your top 5. It'd be like Duke, Dartmouth, Pittsburgh, and then it'd be good old Texas A&M. You be like, how the hell? Kid from Rhode Island got every East Coast school and then just out of nowhere Texas A&M. Like,
right.
If we can find that 1% to be different, we'll be in a really good spot. But I just think it's just a little harder. You know, with at Florida, being a quarterback meant a little bit more. It meant a little bit more. You following the lineages of the great Chris Leaks and Tim Tebow's and this goes on. Steve.
Oh, you think quarterbacks that won a championship? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, it probably would mean a little more to be following the steps of
you got Rex
title-winning quarterbacks.
Well, Rex Grossman didn't win one. He did win one. Or he won the Heisman, 1 or 2. Rex Grossman's
Danny Warfel won one.
Danny Warfel. There's some guys in there, but at Notre Dame, it's like if you're not Brady Quinn,
Brady didn't win one.
Get in line. He didn't win one. Get in line.
He didn't win one.
So it's a mystique at the Notre Dame quarterback. But even being because the Notre Dame quarterback to the world, it's top 3 positions. It goes the president of the United States, the quarterback at Notre Dame, and whoever's working at Amazon. The best 3 jobs you can have. But at Notre Dame, being a quarterback, you one of the students until you separate yourself in that way. So it's just one of those things where for us to be bewildered at times at our recruitment, it's not coinciding with how tough it is to get into school regularly. It's harder to get a scholarship from Notre Dame playing football than to get into regular admissions.
Let's think about that. I don't know. Let's think about this. It's more difficult to get a scholarship to Notre Dame as a football player than it is to get admitted as a student.
Notre Dame will fly to the middle of Uganda, set up shop on the corner, and pass out scholarship. 85% of the new students that are diversity are from another country.
Oh, facts. That is huge, but that's huge money. That's huge money to have a huge international student contingent.
Saying
that's very smart on their behalf. Very smart on their behalf.
It ain't fooling nobody.
Right.
It's more kids from Uganda than from Chicago at Notre Dame on a free full ride scholarship. So if we could do that, then damn it, Keon Keeley needs to be that. It needs to be in that Notre Dame journey. If we can pull these kids from all over the world, more kids in United Way,
mm-hmm.
and provide scholarship. I mean, what happened to the kid from Germany? We got a DN from Germany that quit football and just enjoying life in the States.
Just enjoying life.
He just enjoy. He's just all thanks for the free school and cool experience. But we can't get Carnell Tate. Come on.
It's crazy that you got y'all had a first round, second round projected offensive line and just stop and say, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and go into politics, man. I mean,
I'm gonna jump down with Governor Whitner.
You know, I got this opportunity. His exact words are, "This is an opportunity I just can't pass up."
Yeah.
Like, fam, you're starting on one of the best offensive lines in the history of Notre Dame.
Yeah, you're at Notre Dame at a time where this is the cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop.
This is the crux of the stock. Yeah, you at the highest high of Notre Dame O-line, and you take. And after the season, you didn't talk to nobody.
Nobody.
After the season, you walked over, y'all like, all right, Steve, can't wait for next year. It's gonna be great. We're gonna be even better. Whoop-de-whoop. Don't tell nobody all summer. All summer. We had workouts. Where's Steve at? We in the middle of summer workouts. Where's Steve at? Oh, you done passed on the gray yonder. He said he had bigger fish to fry. Good. It shocked everybody because Coach Kelly's not expecting something like that. You know, he used to being at Cincinnati, Grand Valley, kids dying for a scholarship. He knocked on Coach Kelly's door and said, "Hey, Coach, appreciate it. It was good cardio, real fun. Had time, good, got all my stuff in good. But listen, I'm about to go be making and changing laws around here. Right up the street. I ain't going far. I'm just going to Michigan." Coach Kelly didn't say, he couldn't say anything. And you can imagine what he's saying. He's saying like couldn't believe it. He's like, what do you mean? Like, you just gonna walk away? Like I'm hearing he's saying. You just see what I did was that. He's just going, what are you talking about?
Right.
Started for me as a young guy. That wasn't even supposed to happen. So, and Steve said, listen, I get it. Corey did the same. Corey went from being a first-round projected pick to working in the art gallery, showing off paintings of Biscoff and all that stuff, Stroganoff and all that. Break down the abstract painting.
He said strong, not beef.
Yeah,
he said Stroganoff.
Stroganoff. Whoever that one is. Just some crazy paintings.
So you mean Basquiat.
Yeah, you gotta ask.
Basquiat.
Yeah, he know the names. That's what I'm talking
Picasso.
about.
Yes.
In the middle of New York, not no Nebraska art gallery, no fun. One in Savannah, Georgia. So he is in New York Art District, the premier art gallery. Just on his like, yeah, I don't want to play football. I'd rather do this. These are guys that came early with me. I'm thinking we all trying to go to the league, trying to get jump start. Corey's a student body president. James is a super investor somewhere working with Pat Eilers. Steve is working with Governor Whitner, concocting all type of narratives and stuff he's doing in Michigan. It's like, what we got going on? What we got going on? So I think that there'll be less of those guys coming in under Marcus Freeman. I think it just be more of a focused on what they're trying to get out of the football aspect. Think about it. We've had a barrage of very well-rounded, maybe not Notre Dame football, down the middle. They had some guys that liked do a lot of stuff. I mean, very creative. You like, man, you're a good dude. You just happen to play football. It was one of those things. So, not that we need a bunch of gangsters on the team, but we was definitely. I had some questions about some guys.
Yeah, guys that will walk away.
Guys that will walk away. Guys that just like what? How are you so diverse right now? Like, how do you just in tune with so many different things? You an engineer part-time.
Yeah.
You a part-time guitarist and you go perform every now and then, like all these skills. But when you got time for just football, like how you, not that you can, and that's the thing. I don't have a problem with the guy that wants to do many different things.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're on a team and we together every day and we sweating and doing all this stuff trying to get to a goal, I'm just questioning your attention. Like Jerry. When Jerry came in, he's a true freshman, just starting out. He's looking all right in practice. We got the break off after spring thinking, he's going to go train. He's on a high. This man is in Paris, chilling at the Eiffel Tower. This man ain't been out the country his whole life. First time he touched Notre Dame, he under the Eiffel Tower. Like, we got camp in a week. What are you doing? And I'm like, okay, I guess, but you just too, man, focus on football. That's what we want to, you want people want to rap, even Ev want to play the piano all great. It just, for me, maybe I'm just such a, when you in the season, you win the season. And if you got 15, 20 turnovers, but you playing the piano all the time, what you doing? What you doing?
That's downtime, Left. That's
man, listen. It can't be downtime with 20 turnovers. You letting down the team. You letting down the team. You playing the piano. I don't understand that. That's why I love Corey to death. But that was always my misunderstanding with Corey. It's like you just so willing to give up your rep. You hot right now. You done one-handed the dude on the sideline, and you, man, go ahead, take my rep. What do you? I need you in there. What are you talking about? Don't be giving up your reps. We just got two good guys, man. Two good guys. It's different.
Man, look, Marcus Freeman is like my boy in the movie Brown Sugar. Marcus Freeman is in the studio and he's watching how things are going. And he's looking over here like, what? Why is that going on in this program? What? Why do we do that? Why do we feel this way? And Marcus Freeman is like Tay Diggs, like, this is ridiculously whack, man. And your boy walks up behind him and said, "Man, I thought we talked about this." Yeah, you did. And he looks in the studio and he sees the rapping Dalmatians trying to hit the right note. He's like, "Man, I'm out. No, we got to change this. I can't do this. I'm gonna go start my own label, Brown Sugar Records."
Straight up.
And that's what Marcus Freeman is trying to get Notre Dame to be. He's trying to get Notre Dame to evolve. He's trying to form his own record label. Because that Brian Kelly Records is ridiculously whack.
It's just all over the place. We went from pop to country.
Dude, the BKR Records, it's ridiculously whack. You got rapping Dalmatians up in the booth trying to remake The Girl Is Mine.
Yeah, we
in a hip hop formation. You gotta get up. You gotta get that. No, bro, that's not it. That's not it. That is not it. That is not it.
Just focus on one genre for a little bit, man. Because good grief, it's just a little bit all over the place. But for the right person to do it, I think Jack Swarbrick on his way out was right on the.
Jack Swarbrick did not want any parts of these decisions that are upcoming.
But he made the biggest escape step by hiring Marcus Freeman. Because if he didn't hire Marcus Freeman, we went on this long coaching search. I think that was a lose-lose for him. I don't think he could have got a better fit for Notre Dame at that time other than Marcus Freeman. It was like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So that was the best step he could take for making an exit. Because now it's like, okay, y'all, don't put that Marcus Freeman thing on me. I set it up when y'all, that's what y'all wanted. Don't get mad at me if 5 years down the road, y'all could have had Andy Ludwig or whoever, So, and then you got just a complete transition of where things are going on a recruitment level, which is huge for college sports, not even just football, college sports. You got the TV deal, the apparel deal, people trying to link up in super conferences. How is that going to affect your off-season scheduling?
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do with the way the campus is changing? It's just so many different moving parts. And Jack's like, listen, I'm trying to go to Florida.
Look, you might not like it, but Jack Swarbrick is who he is, and he's not changing who he is. His last major coaching decision, Jack Swarbrick's like, I've been cheap. I don't pay coaches, and I'm not about to pay this buyout and get this dude $2 million. It's not happening.
And I leave out? No.
No, and it's not happening. It's not happening. He stuck to his guns. He stuck to his guns. It was like, you know what? Let's find a way to wiggle out of this.
I mean, now he was finagling some stuff, put it together. Now he finagled the whole speech for Marcus and dropped the email for the masses.
Oh man,
tried to hit us with misdirections. We didn't say we weren't gonna buy him out, but then hit us with the, he been hitting us with. One of them. He been doing this all day. I got you over here, one of them. So I mean, I think that's a part of it. Hopefully. Pete, Bavakwa? Is that how you say it?
You got it.
Hopefully he comes in with more of a straight approach to it, and not have the need to feel like he has to duck and dodge around the decisions made. But at the same time, Notre Dame's been running on the same type of hardware for a long time. We've been on that Mac 11 Systems 08 for a pretty long time. We got to update. We got to hit that update. We denying the update. And I think this is where Pete has a chance to come in and do that, just like our guy Shrewsbury. With his transfers and him coming in at the right time for a Notre Dame basketball program, coming off a coach that was, 15, 12 years there with Mike Bray. So it's wide open. It's a lot of, like you said, for the football team. We don't know. Mm-hmm. We can speculate. We know what it looks like on paper, but we just don't. I would be lying to say I know for sure what we're going to look like coming out. But it is that transition point to where we can cross over and hit this thing running, or we're going to miss the boat and be swimming in the ocean for a long time. Because what everybody knew ain't no loyalty. So they could get rid of everybody the next couple of years if they wanted to, you know.
Yeah.
So this is sink or swim in many cases than not. If I was Pete, I don't want to come in my first 3 years and we trash in sports. I'm getting rid of people. I'm coming in on a 0-20 record? No, I gotta go. There's a new sheriff in town. So hopefully that relationship can get built early. Marcus Freeman using that recruiting mind, fly him out and taking the roof Chris. You know, just warm up. I'm your football coach. It's how we do it in South Bend. I'm gonna set you up with the nice roof Chris steak dinner. Welcome to South Bend.
Now you know what would be dope? If they brought kids in, wined them, dined them, wowed them, but then took those expenses out of their NIL money. Treat them like an artist. Treat them like an artist.
We fronting cash and taxing on the back.
Yeah, we'll front. We'll front you. But we
got to get employees in, huh?
We got to get our money back.
Yeah.
Are they employees or are they independent contractors?
Well, technically, you would be an employee if you're getting education and room and board paid for, right? It's like housing. Like at Google, they pay for your housing and they bus you to work or something crazy like that. So maybe, I mean, I think it should be considered as just like these club teams in Europe. They already got the structure. These kids don't think about no school. They think about making the club team out their neighborhood. And they play their whole life. Some of them, I mean, they may not ever be superstars, but they play their whole life playing football or soccer. So we should set up like those club systems. I mean, those 7-on-7 teams, you grow up, you know, you play, do whoop-de-whoop. Maybe it turns into a structure like that, but it just seems to be.
Well, news broke this afternoon that Mbappe might be coming to MLS next year because Messi is in Miami. So that American money must be looking real good right now.
He want that American fame, the money in Europe.
Facts.
Soccer money, man. You coming to America for the fun. Let's be for real. Like Messi, turned down $1.8 billion? Are you kidding me? 3 years, $1.8 billion to play in the Saudi desert. I'm over there. They talk about family over money. Listen, I love my family, but they would love if I took the $1.8 billion.
You would take the billion?
Man, what? What would you do?
He said, man, what?
What are you talking about? $1.8 billion to just play some soccer over here in the desert?
Well, you do know he got money, and he got, with the deal to Miami, he got something like a percentage of the TV money for new subscribers.
Sure. Is that going to equal?
I'm just telling you.
They bring in
what he's. I'm just telling you. You know, because the euro is not as strong as it used to be. I'm just telling you.
That's true. He want that equity. You think the equity is where it's at? He
Might be.
Should have been like our guy. What's our actor? James.
It might be easier for him to become an owner in MLS if that's what he wants eventually.
Yeah,
might be easier for him to become an owner in MLS than an owner over in Europe, because those European clubs don't come up to sell.
LeBron got him 2% in Manchester or something.
That 2%
He got his little drop in the bucket. You know, these players try to get these fake, these investments.
These fake ownerships, like I own. Like, man, please.
The only ownership I think somebody got is Pat Mahomes. He own half the damn KC Royals. He should. With $500 billion he got over there. And Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I believe Aaron Rodgers. And he got the Bucks going. But the interesting thing that these athletes are investing in, if this is the type of show we're talking about now, is pickleball. A lot of guys got pickleball.
Dude, so Mark Jackson And Jeff Van Gundy went to play pickleball in between games 3 and 4 down in Miami.
Yeah.
And Mark Jackson got hurt. It was funny. They alluded to it on the broadcast. It was kind of funny. And I've never played pickleball.
It's picking up steam. You know who plays it all the time? Jewel Lloyd.
Really?
That's her like thing. Like get a pickleball team and the whole. I don't understand it, but I mean, hey, that's what rich people like to do, like racquetball. Have you ever went to the gym and played in the racquetball area? Because they always nice and set up real nice, and that's how you know if you got a good gym, if you have a racquetball court. But nobody ever goes. Do you ever go?
Racquetball was huge in college. No, seriously. At the University of Illinois, racquetball was like the perfect date.
Really?
Yes. We would take girls over to the intramural building and play racquetball, and it was like great conversation. You let her in. Yeah. And most, a little exercise. You weren't trying to go too hard. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think that's how you get them, though. That's how you get them away from the pack. For sure. But yeah, it's one of those things for sure.
Oh, Lucky Lefty podcast, the evolution of a program. And the director of player personnel, Mir Carlisle, attempting to take Notre Dame into the future of college football. Marcus Freeman declaring that money is going to be spent. And if we can get left to kind of approve upgrade of the amenities around campus, we'll be all right.
What you want, some trash cans that open by themselves or something? What I told you the best things they did was give scooters to all the kids so they don't have to walk between the Goog and all the buildings, and put the training table in the Goog. So now you can eat and do everything right there. That's the upgrade. If you want the fancy lockers that drop down and give you an 85-inch TV that is in your way before practice.
Dude, the Notre Dame locker room is timeless. Doesn't need to be changed.
Yeah, what's wrong?
It's timeless. It's timeless. We're not talking about that. But come on, bro.
That's what I'm saying. You put a pool table. Like, what are we asking for here?
Yes, Sam. The nice little bowling alley wouldn't be bad.
Shaun,
Julio Cuss to have his own little setup. That wouldn't be bad.
Man, they tried that with they tried it. And they tell Marcus Freeman, hell no, bro. The building is shut down after X time. We ain't playing that.
Oh man. Yo, Lucky Lefty podcast.
I want to put like a little strip joint on the side of it. They get the good wings and stuff. You go out.
Okay, strip joint. Wait a minute. You mean a strip mall or strip joint? Now, what you talking about? I have to clarify.
Just make it all in-house. Just have entertainment.
No.
Had a little club.
I actually go find my good wings without having to attend the strip joint. So I don't need baby oil getting mixed up with my ranch dressing when I eat my wings, bro. I'm good. I'm good on that. So tonight's going to be the end. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I kind of told you it was going to be 5 games. Kind of told you this is going to be 5.
Yeah, this is.
You know what I'm saying?
I hate to say it's a boring series because it's not.
It is. It's like watching a team be tortured.
But if you're a basketball savant, you're supposed to be like, man, this is good.
No, this is just a slow death. Every game is like a slow death for the Miami Heat. Just a slow death, dude. Because they're gonna come hard, for like 4 or 5 minutes in spurts.
Yeah,
but it's almost like it's not even gonna have an effect. You know what I'm saying? It's like catching a boxer with a good shot and he walks straight through it and just keeps coming forward. That's the Denver Nuggets. Like
John got to get mad thinking he gonna do something else. It's like that's what Floyd wants. He wants you to come crazy. He can just pop you over the head one time, like, oh man, what are you gonna do? Lucky Lefty podcast. So
Make sure you tap in. We had a Best of Lucky Lefty this weekend. It was a great show that featured Amir Carlisle when he was with us on the Lucky Lefty podcast. Rakai Nelson, that podcast is available. And also, I got Bennett Jackson. That podcast is available.
Oh, we had Rakai.
Yeah, Rakai. Come on, man. You tonight, Rocky, Stroganoff.
Well, you know how them names be for them type of.
I'll never forget they did that pregame special with Ed sitting at the grand piano. I'm like, come on.
What's it, the Grammys?
Like, come on, Ed. Come on, man. What are we doing here? Lucky Lefty podcast. But I appreciate the well-roundedness of Notre Dame football players, though.
It's a thin line. It's a thin line. It's a thin line. I always talk about this because, it's a thin line because they start bleeding into the whole, you play bad and then you want to start talking about mental health. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, Dak Prescott, all right, you just got paid $100 million. What you talking about? You suffer through depression sometimes, and that's not what the leader of the team needs to be saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Because it's like, all right. Well, give me the $70 million back. We can work on your as a rookie contract, and there's no pressure. You don't have to worry about, So that's why I'm just like, man, let the job be the job. If you hired a plumber to come fix your toilet that's been backed up for 5 days, and he comes over and starts telling, I had a rough day, I this and that, and I'm just going through it and all that. It's like, can you just fix my toilet? Yeah, I care about you as a human being because I'm a human being and all that. But man, fix my toilet, man. I'm not trying to hear all that other. But that's the same thing with sports. You getting paid buku amount to do a job. Why y'all gotta make it so guilt for us if we talk a little stuff on the side as a fan, or we tweet you or something? And so it's a part of the job. I don't know. I just think some of this sports stuff gets too emotional sometimes. It's like, what you want the man to do? Obviously, people gonna have their opinions of how you play. That's why people get so upset about it. I'm just like, man, like, it's sports. It's your job. Now, if this was something personal, you know what I mean? Okay, I get it. You got to care about the man's mental and all that. But if you making $80 million, I don't want to hear you talk about mental health because you threw a pick on 3rd and 10. I'm not trying to go for that. That's like LeBron going in there losing a final series and then walking in with a boot on. Talk about your ankle wasn't hurt. Remember he had the hand cast? He came out to the game with the hand. What's wrong with your head? What's wrong with the hand? All of us, you was just in the game shooting. Now you come with the post conference with the cast on the hand. Come on, man. So I just think sports is just too thin of a line for me because it's too excuse based. It's like, sports is very result based. So anytime it's not a result, and it just seems like an excuse. It may be a good reason. Stuff happens, but it just seems like an excuse. That's all.
Lucky Lefty podcast, man. There's nothing like a good left rant to close out the show, boy.
I'm just saying.
You know what time it is.
You know that makes you mad.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's pettiest story? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, pettiest stories of the day brought to you by Onora Whsikey, OnoraWhsikey.com, that premium American whiskey. OnoraWhsikey.com.
First one is definitely Steven Jackson. Total petty, crazy clown stuff.
Petty Wop.
The man is promoting O Block and checking in. Steven Jackson, you too old. Same video where he talking about he's so gangster, he's this and that, O Block checking in. The kid in the video, 16, catching a murder charge.
Well,
so what are we promoting? Steven Jackson, you the prime. You in the front for the one dude that died, Michael Floyd? Wasn't he in the front of that? Isn't that your cousin or something crazy?
Uh-huh.
And then you turn around and then you do this. I don't know what you an agent of chaos. That's what you know how Dr. Umar said, you an agent of chaos. Because it's mixed messaging. You know, and so I think it's petty because now how you look. You look crazy. Because are you leading the youth or are you misleading the youth?
Lucky Lefty podcast.
You saw that though? That was crazy. I just thought that was crazy.
Yeah. I live here. I don't even check in when I go over there by O Block, bro. I mean,
that's so corny, man.
I don't exactly post up on the corner, but
you ain't worried about having to talk to nobody either. I don't, you know. People crazy.
It's a street, man. It's a city street, dog. It's a city street on the south side. You get off the damn ride, you drive down the street, dude.
It's right there. It ain't like it's a territory with a moat and armed guards and a.
You know, you get disappointed, dude. I went to New York one time, and I kept saying, "Man, I want to see Marcy. I want to see Marcy projects. I want to see Marcy projects. I want to see Queens Bridge."
Little old projects, man.
And they were projects, dog. It was like, okay, it's a project. It's a building.
It's a building, bro.
If you've seen one, I've seen Cabrini Green here in Chicago as a kid, so I've seen the worst of the worst. You know, but it is funny. It's funny. Him trying to act like that's
like what? Like it's just
see, that's that Ja Morant problem, bro.
It's that Ja Morant problem.
You got these 15, 16-year-olds brandishing guns, doing certain things as if, you know, man.
And the older dudes is promoting it. Crazy.
Man. Did you see the video of Ice Spice at some Super Jam?
Did I?
Am I incorrect in saying that she was not fully clothed?
Listen.
I felt like that was a fine, dude. Like, how is she on stage and how is this video not
gimmick sale, man? Gimmick sale.
Oh man, I almost called your boy Jordan Poole and apologized, bro. To tell him it was money well spent.
He called it, see, I told you.
Like, hey, dog, that $500,000, I understand, dude.
Yeah.
I understand.
Come on now.
I understand. I can't even front on you, bro.
It's like she's my favorite rapper now. I have no idea why.
I see, I'm not going that far. I'm not going that far. It was mad petty that video actually was going around.
Oh, yeah, the video went around crazy. Man, internet's crazy these days.
Hey, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Great show. Tap in with us. Subscribe. Hit that like button. Don't forget, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation. Your audio edible each and every day. For Left, I'm Shaun Davis. It's been another great episode. We'll be back at it tomorrow with some more updates on recruiting. We're going to dive head first into fall camp. because they're on campus right now.
That's right.
And they're solo. You know, it's a few kids taking summer classes, but they're solo. It's just them. And we're going to talk about what they're doing. Because Left said, look, you don't do anything until the students get there anyway. You spend 80% of your time at the Goog. So we got a couple of guests coming up this week as well. So we got a good week of content coming up for you.
That's right.
We spin it different. Lucky Lefty podcast, man. Enjoy the rest of the game. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.